Welcome to our channel. Today, we pause to remember a life that touched hearts and left a lasting impact. We'll explore their journey, the challenges they faced, and the moments that made them unforgettable. Join us as we honor their story, celebrate their legacy, and reflect on the memories that will continue to inspire and live on in the hearts of those who knew them. The news arrived quietly, carried not by cheers or headlines, but by memory. In Detroit, where baseball once felt like a shared heartbeat, the passing of Mickey Lolich marked the end of a chapter that many believed would last forever. His name belonged to a time when the game asked for everything, and a man answered without hesitation. Mickey Lolich was never the loudest voice in the room. He did not seek attention, and he rarely asked for praise. Yet when the Detroit Tigers needed strength, they turned to him. On the mound, he carried responsibility with calm focus, throwing pitch after pitch with the weight of a city on his shoulders. Born in 1940 in Portland, Oregon, Lolich came from a working-class background. Baseball was not a shortcut to fame for him. It was work. It was discipline. From the beginning of his career, he was known for durability and determination rather than flash. He believed in showing up, even when his arm was tired and the odds were heavy. When he joined the Detroit Tigers, he became something more than a pitcher. He became reliable. Season after season, he took the ball when others could not. In an era before strict pitch limits, Lolich was a workhorse. He led the league in innings pitched multiple times, often starting games that others would have avoided. The year 1968 changed everything. Detroit was a city under pressure. Social tension, economic struggle, and uncertainty filled the air. Baseball became more than a game that summer. It was a place of release. And Mickey Lolich stood at the center of it. During the 1968 World Series, Lolich delivered one of the most legendary performances in baseball history. He started 3 games against the St. Louis Cardinals and won all 3. In the deciding Game 7, he pitched a complete game, shutting down one of the strongest lineups of the era. When the final out was recorded, Detroit had its championship. And Mickey Lolich was named World Series MVP. Years later, teammates still spoke of that moment with awe. Former Tiger Al Collin once said, "When Mickey took the mound, we believed." That belief carried us through. It was not just talent that inspired confidence. It was his presence. Despite the honor, Lolich remained unchanged. He returned the next season with the same quiet approach. No grand speeches. No dramatic celebrations. Just preparation, effort, and respect for the game. Off the field, he was known as private and grounded. He valued family and routine. Fame never seemed to sit comfortably with him, and he never chased it. To fans, that humility only deepened their respect. As the years passed, baseball evolved. Pitchers were managed carefully. Games changed pace. But Mickey Lolich remained a symbol of endurance from another time. A time when pitchers finished what they started. When toughness was measured not in words, but in innings. When news of his death became public, tributes came softly but sincerely. Former teammates, fans, and writers shared memories of a man who gave everything without asking for more. One longtime Tigers fan wrote online, "Mickey Lolich wasn't just a player. He was comfort. When he pitched, you felt safe." Another tribute read, "He carried Detroit when we needed it most." We will never forget. Even those who never saw him play felt his impact. His story was passed down through highlights, stories, and the way older fans spoke his name with respect. Mickey Lolich did not chase legacy. But legacy found him anyway. His career statistics told one story. His wins, strikeouts, and innings showed his value on paper. but the deeper story lived in how he showed up when it mattered most. How he accepted pressure without complaint. How he trusted his arm, even when it hurt. In retirement, Lolich stayed connected to the game quietly. He made appearances. He spoke with fans. He never placed himself above the team or the city that embraced him. In moments of reflection, sports writers often return to one idea. That in 1968, when Detroit needed a symbol of strength, Mickey Lolich answered with action. As time moves forward, new players will rise. New championships will be won. But certain moments remain untouched by change. A pitcher standing on the mound in Game 7. A city holding its breath. An arm that refused to fail. Mickey Lolich will be remembered not just for what he achieved, but for how he carried himself. With grit. With loyalty. With quiet strength. And in Detroit, long after the lights go dark, his story will remain. A reminder that sometimes, greatness speaks softly, and endures forever. The confirmation came without drama. No crowds gathered. No flags were lowered in public squares. Yet inside government buildings and quiet homes across the country, the passing of Lee H. Hamilton was felt with deep reflection. It marked the loss of a man who spent his life steadying the nation during uncertain times. Lee H. Hamilton believed that democracy worked best when voices were calm and decisions were careful. He did not seek attention, and he rarely raised his voice. Instead, he listened. And through that patience, he became one of the most trusted figures in American public life. Born in 1931 in Indiana, Hamilton was shaped by small-town values. He believed in duty, respect, and service. Those principles guided him when he entered Congress in 1965, representing Indiana's 9th District. At the time, the country was changing fast. Protests filled the streets. Trust in government was fragile. Hamilton chose a different path. He focused on understanding before judging. On compromise instead of conflict. Over the next 34 years, he served in the U.S. House of Representatives, becoming a central figure in foreign policy and national security discussions. He chaired the House Foreign Affairs Committee and earned respect from both parties. Colleagues often described him as steady. Even during heated debates, Hamilton remained calm. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright once said, "Lee Hamilton had the rare ability to lower the temperature in the room." People trusted him because he respected the process. His influence reached far beyond Congress. After leaving office, Hamilton was repeatedly called upon during moments of national crisis. He co-chaired the 9/11 Commission, helping the country understand one of its darkest days. Later, he led investigations into intelligence failures and election security, always focused on facts rather than blame. Those close to the work recall his tone. Meetings were quiet. Questions were direct. Emotions were acknowledged, but never allowed to control the outcome. One staff member later reflected, he believed the truth mattered more than politics. That belief guided everything he did. Hamilton never claimed to have all the answers. What he offered instead was balance. He believed strong institutions mattered more than strong personalities. That trust in democracy shaped every role he accepted. Outside Washington, Hamilton lived a private life. He valued family, reading, and teaching. He later became director of the Center on Congress at Indiana University, helping students understand how government should function, not ideally, but responsibly. When news of his death became public, tributes came from across the political spectrum. Lawmakers, scholars, and citizens shared memories of a man who served without spectacle. One former colleague wrote online, "Lee Hamilton reminded us that public service is not about winning. It's about responsibility. Another tribute read, in a loud world, he chose quiet integrity. Hamilton's legacy is not found in viral moments or sharp sound bites. It lives in reports carefully written. In recommendations shaped by evidence. In a belief that democracy survives through patience and trust. In times when political divisions grew louder, Hamilton remained grounded. He did not abandon principles, but he refused to weaponize them. That restraint earned him credibility that few could claim. As the years passed, his presence became symbolic. When Lee Hamilton was involved, people believed the process would be fair. That the outcome would be honest. In one of his final public reflections, Hamilton said, "Democracy is slow, and that's its strength." Those words now stand as a quiet summary of his life. Lee H. Hamilton will be remembered not for commanding attention, but for earning trust. Not for shaping headlines, but for shaping understanding. His work helped guide the nation through moments of fear, doubt, and change. As the chapter closes on his life, the values he stood for remain. Balance. Integrity. Faith in institutions meant to last longer than any one person. And in that enduring belief, Lee H. Hamilton's legacy continues, steady, quiet, and deeply respected. The news was confirmed softly, without fanfare. In churches, living rooms, and quiet spaces around the world, the passing of Ron Kenoly was met with stillness. For many, it felt like the final note of a familiar song fading into silence. Ron Kenoly was more than a singer. He was a voice that carried joy. A presence that invited people in. Through worship, he helped shape how millions expressed faith, not as performance, but as shared experience. Born in 1944, Kenoly's journey into music was guided by devotion rather than ambition. He believed worship was meant to unite, not divide. From the beginning, his focus was clear. Music was a bridge. And everyone was welcome to cross it. As a worship leader and pastor, Kenoly became widely known in the 1990s. His live worship albums reached churches across continents. Songs filled with energy and hope became part of weekly services around the world. Congregations sang along, often without knowing his full story. They only knew how the music made them feel. His voice was strong, but never overpowering. It lifted rooms without demanding attention. In moments of praise, Kenoly stepped back and let the message lead. One fellow worship leader once said, "Ron didn't just sing songs. He created space for people to meet God." That belief shaped every stage he stood on. Kenoly's influence went far beyond one denomination or culture. His music crossed borders with ease. In large churches and small gatherings, his songs found a home. They were sung in different languages, yet carried the same spirit. During performances, Kenoly often reminded audiences that worship was not about the singer. It was about unity. He encouraged people to sing together, to listen to one another, and to find joy in shared faith. Away from the stage, he lived with purpose and care. He served as a pastor, mentor, and teacher. He valued family and community, choosing a life rooted in service rather than spotlight. When news of his death spread, tributes appeared quickly. Musicians, pastors, and everyday listeners shared memories of how his songs had shaped important moments in their lives. One social media post read, "Ron Kenoly's music carried me through my hardest days. His songs reminded me I was not alone." Another tribute said, "He taught us that worship could be joyful, loud, and still deeply meaningful." Even those who never met him felt connected. His voice had been present at weddings, baptisms, and quiet mornings of prayer. Over time, his music became woven into personal memories. Kenoly faced challenges later in life, including health struggles that led him to step back from public ministry. Yet his absence from the stage did not diminish his presence. His recordings continued to play. His influence continued to grow. Those close to him described a man of humility. Someone who listened more than he spoke. Who believed that faith was lived daily, not only expressed through song. A longtime friend once reflected, Ron never chased applause. He chased purpose. That purpose guided decades of work that reached far beyond charts or sales. In a world often divided by difference, Kenoly's message remained consistent. Joy could unite. Worship could heal. Music could remind people of what they shared, rather than what set them apart. As time moves forward, new voices will rise in worship spaces. New songs will be written. But the foundation Ron Kenoly helped build remains steady. His legacy lives in full rooms singing together. In hands raised without hesitation. In moments when music turns strangers into one voice. From voices raised in worship, the story now settles into silence. But it is not an empty silence. It is filled with memory. With gratitude. With songs that continue to echo long after the final note. Ron Kenoly will be remembered for lifting a generation. And through that gift, his spirit endures, wherever people gather to sing with joy and faith.